he's still got things that he needs to achieve in terms of return on investment, in terms of all the property and all of the stuff that Tavistock Group and ENIC and everything have invested. And it's probably why he's just stepped down, because Joe Lewis wants him to look after all of the other stuff that's probably happening in the background of all that stuff. But you know, maybe you know, Joe Lewis and you know, his daughter, you know, and his leadership group outside of Tottenham Hotspur had a look at what was happening at Spurs, and he's getting old as well. Let's not forget that he's not a young man. Joe Lewis, he's 88.
Well, you wouldn't be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised if you had something on the news saying yesterday was his last day. For God's sake,
exactly, right? And he's probably thinking, look, I'm going to pop my clogs at any moment from now until in the next few years. Who knows? Right? God forbid. I wouldn't wish it. No, I don't want to wish any. I want everyone to live.
No, you didn't wish nothing. You just said it is what it is. You're 88 for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's a good life, right? 88 and a billionaire, blimey. So, and he's probably thinking, right, you know, my kids are going to take over this. Daniel can't stay there forever, right? We know that Joe Lewis's daughter isn't Daniel Levy's biggest fan anyway. Daniel Coy's probably thought, you know what, the time is coming now for change, and there we go. The decision was made. You know, lots of different factors, I think, all came together and made this happen. So yeah, that's my take on it.
I think you could look at it on the way that nothing in particular, but I see where you're going. I don't think the protest would have had a massive part of this, but could it have had? But there's so many ways you can put it together. But one thing you can definitely say when it comes to protests and stuff like that, it only takes a few little ones, and then when you see them sort of getting bigger, then you start seeing more protests like what's happening in the country or whatever else, and that it can go from there. But our protests went downhill after that, basically.
Yeah, but the thing is, Dan, see, this is why I disagree.
Oh, wait. Okay, why are you saying the protest didn't work? Right? He has left. You get what I'm saying?
Hang on, Eugene. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Let Maz finish what he's saying. Right, and we're just having this. I'll come to you in a sec, mate.
I was going to say a very similar thing to Eugene. The result is that we said that if you apply pressure, it doesn't look good for the sponsors. It doesn't look good.
It's true.
For the customers spending the money in the stadium. It doesn't look good for the you got to remember, a lot of the worldwide fan base look at Spurs and say, why aren't they winning? They're the people that spend the money, right? So whilst there might not be immediate trouble around Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the worldwide fan base wasn't happy with how Spurs was being run, right? So we'll never know. We're not inside the boardroom to know that you know, in the conversations. But Dan, this is why I disagree. It does have an effect. It has an effect, and sometimes, like in
I agree, it does have an effect, but it's not the main thing.
I've been in scenarios, right, where I've been really close to landing a big deal worth millions of pounds, right? And just when I was waiting for the customer to sign, the smallest little thing happens, right, that destroys the whole deal. And you would think, from an outsider's perspective, you would think, why would that work? Why would that destroy your deal? It's irrelevant. But
it only takes a little thing to destroy a deal.
Sometimes the smallest little thing sets things in motion that you would never dream of it being.
Or even just the wrong person says the wrong word to the wrong person. I've seen deals as well, mate, with a lot of money, and it's all it took was that one prick to do it the wrong way.
Well, like Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho was in a cup final, right? You know, he wasn't doing too bad in the league. I think he was 6th or something, wasn't he, when he got sacked or something? And he was only 4 points off the top 4 anyway, or something like that. Back then, right? And he had one argument with Daniel Levy. Done. His you know, his time at Spurs was done straight away. So sometimes all it takes is one argument. We don't know, mate. Obviously, all of this is hypothetical and speculation.
Yeah, of course it is.
Like that. But
it's the perfect time to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, you can join up the dots, and it's plausible and probable that some things.
I mean, this is
along
why
the line of what I've said.
I think something's been going on for while, and I think this is another reason why Levy was so desperate to get that Europa Cup and push the league aside. I can quite easily believe to get us that Champions League, because I don't know, maybe it brings it in for someone buying whatever else, the excess with it. There's so much clutching at straws you can do with it because we just don't know. Seeing as Eugene jump, Connor, how you doing, mate? How's your see on all this?
Good. I'm good. Big news. I need a new Twitter handle as well, don't I? Levynomics doesn't work anymore. Yeah, it's massive news. I think the next couple of weeks, months are going to be quite interesting to see how things develop. There's a lot of speculation at the moment, obviously, what it actually means in practice. I mean, for me, look, I think Levy had a lot of faults, right? And, you don't need me to tell you that I had a lot of issues with Daniel Levy, but the bigger problem for me was always ENIC. And the way that
I've agreed with that.
Yeah, and the parameters in which even Levy himself was forced to operate, right? Because ENIC are the ones that actually hold the cards, and Joe Lewis has been the one that holds the cards, and they're the ones that have made the decision to only invest £5 million a year for 24 years on average. So and obviously Levy's intrinsically linked to all of that, but ENIC for me is the bigger issue.
So, there's still one step up, is what I always said, Connor. Even though Levy, I think he's done brilliant on one side, terrible on the other. But if you go to the top of the pyramid, like a lot of people have that attitude, there was always still one person above.
That's right. And I mean, I think you can read this two ways. I think it's either one, which is what I'm hopeful it ends up being, is this is the prequel to a full sale.
Yes, that's what I want.
It's uncommon, I would say, for someone that was earning a £3 million salary and still continues to own 25% of the club to completely step away and not even be moved to, say, a non-executive role. So he's completely off the board now. So that's a bit odd, right? Because you'd think,
what is he completely off of it now? Because he's got a big part of it. So I would have thought he'd still have a say because he's got
still a shareholder.
Part of
he still owns 25% of the football club because he owns 29% of ENIC, which own 86%. So you won't have through. He owns 25%, but he is not. He doesn't have a role on the board for Tottenham, which is odd. Right. I thought he might move to when they hired Vinay. I thought he might move to be a non-executive chairman rather than an executive chairman.
What that
obviously
Peter's just over as,
which is what Charrington's now doing. But obviously they've taken him completely away from that. So that means he's walked away, unless he's involved with Tavistock in the background. But at least in terms of what we can see and what we've got sight of, he's walked away from £3 million salary, and obviously has walked away from being able to impact the operations of Tottenham.
Connor, is it 6 million or 3 million?
His salary is 3 million. There's been years he's got a £3 million bonus on top of that, which is where he's got 6. But his general salary is
that's always the bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's only got that in 2 years, to be fair. So
you shouldn't get it at all, to be fair.
There is that argument. But yeah, so that's number one. Or number two is, which I think Maz was alluding to as I joined, is that perhaps Joe Lewis's children, who are obviously the beneficiaries of the trust, perhaps they've got a bit fed up with him and moved him away from the operations. Obviously, they can't do anything about his shares because if he decides not to sell it, they can't force him to sell his shareholding. But what they can do is talk about who is responsible for the football operation. So maybe they've moved him on.
Yeah,
now,
that's what I've said.
I really wanted to... Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, I interrupted you. Sorry. What I was just basically saying is that's what I've said. Even if someone comes in and buys them and he didn't want to sell, he can still get told to shut up and sit on the side because it's whoever owns most what says what goes on at the end of the day, isn't it? So sorry, keep on what you were saying. I was disagreeing with you.
And but I think we're all hopeful it's the first one, right? Which is, because we've now got this platform whereby, if we were to get because my worry is even if it's Joe Lewis's kids, are they really going to operate in a different way to the way that ENIC has operated?
The thing is, Connor,
25 years.
Yeah, the thing is, right, as I was saying earlier, I don't know if you caught off some of what I said. Is I've been lucky enough to work in a lot of big companies and a lot of global companies and lots of different CEOs. And sometimes just having a different personality as the captain of the ship can make a monumental difference to how they operate and how they divvy up the budgets and stuff can be massively different too, because the way that they've become successful is different to the way that other CEOs have become successful, and they'll assess risk and see opportunity differently. And that's why just having that new set of eyes on things can make an enormous difference. Now, if we put 2 and 2 together a little bit, and you look at them bringing in someone like Xavi Simons and Mouani and Paulinho and stuff like that, it's very unlike Daniel Levy. It's not to say that Daniel Levy hasn't bought good players in the past, Berbatov being a good example of that. Modric, Bale was a bit of a fluke, but still worked out in the end. Ericsson and stuff like that. But it's characteristically unlike the way we've operated in the past.
Like the two players back to back going for Kudus and then Morgan Gibbs White straight away. I know it didn't happen, but we would have
precisely, and even Eze as well. And so I'm with you, Connor. I don't think you've said anything wrong, by the way. I'm completely with you on everything you said, 100%. I think we do have to be guarded, though. You're right. It's still owned by ENIC. It's still owned by the same people, but at least they've put new people in. And I'm hopeful, right? Like I said, they might see opportunity and risk completely differently. They're all individuals at the end of the day, right? And that could make all the difference to how Spurs are run. Or it could go the other way. It could be even worse. Who knows? But I'd rather take the risk than just prod along for the next 5-10 years 100%. Or whatever. I'm doing the same thing, hoping that we get a fluke cup along the way,
Can I say something now, right? Okay. All right. I'm going to say this now. At this moment in time, I'm going to savor this, right? Maz, we've been doing this for 4.5 years, right? We've been shouting this, banging this drum, right? While people were laughing at us, remember? While they're looking at us like idiots and all that, right? But now it's become a reality. I'm going to sit down here and savor this at the moment because, number one, we've got first of our objectives done is Levy is out. You know what I'm saying? That is the first step. We have to make that first step, getting it out, right? And I see it in this way is that, number one, he's been held accountable. Our financial records have been in the red for the past 4 years. In actual sense, right, we don't have money to spend. So there's been pressure on the Lewis family, pressure on him. The fans are going crazy, right? Number two, remember, we started doing this during COVID 2021, guys, 2021. And when we started our first game back at home at Aston Villa, he came out with this statement, Maz, remember, our DNA, right? And we've misspent £250 million on players. If you were a CEO or a chairman who runs a company and you misspent £200 million, right? What would have happened to you? You've been sacked there and then. But because he's part owner, part shareholder, he thought that he's not touchable. Number one. That's why, he's not. We all know the story that if Lewis doesn't pump in the money, Daniel Levy doesn't have it. He doesn't have £100 million. He doesn't have £500 million to pump in the cash, right? But he's been drawing £3 million nearly for the past 25 years every year, on top of bonuses, which I don't think he deserves, right? And the thing is, yes, he's brought us to a more financial stable stage. We've got a big stadium and all that. Spurs will not crash again like, during the Sugar days, when Sugar had to come in and save us, right? That will not happen because I've been saying this for so long. Max knows this. We are too big to fall now, right? These you should take out of your head. We are worth billions. Billions don't crumble overnight, right? Especially with property value of the club, right? And it comes down to this. Whoever takes over now, I don't care, right? I only care about now what happens to the football. If the football becomes good, which shows that we have got ambition to do something, which Mash was saying is very correct. This transfer window was a surprise for me because for the past 4.5 years, we've been doing YouTube on transfers and all that, right? It was always last minute, and we never got in quality, even though it was in the last minute. But this season, somehow, we got in Simmons, we got in Moani, even though on a loan, right? It's still considered quality than the usual buys we do. So maybe at the time there was pressure. Maybe Levy was trying to do the deals with Eze and all that. He prolonged too long, right? And the things fell. The fan base turned on him. And guys, please don't tell me protest doesn't work. It's part of the cog of the machine of bringing something down. It works.
It's possible, Eugene. It's possible.
Dan,
Eugene, it's possible. I'm not disputing.
So
that,
are you telling me protest that didn't work at all? I'm saying it's part of the cog of the machinery.
It's possible that it was.
Then you tell me it's possible it wasn't?
Are you telling me? That's what I'm just saying. Nobody knows. It could be. It couldn't be. There's so many things it could be. I'm half agreeing with you.
So the thing is that people, right, and of course, whilst the Enoch and the Lewis family saw us winning that trophy and the 200,000 people coming out to support, right? That must have opened their eyes. They might have seen, but right, we've got something here, and the passion for the club. Maybe they felt it, and maybe Daniel Levy doesn't feel it. I mean, because some people don't have that emotion. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they felt it, right? And they think that we can do something else. And plus, yes, there might be new owners coming in. Maybe the Qatari investments talking about last month ago, the stadium naming rights and all that. Maybe everything went to a stop because those people who wanted to pump in the money was looking at Daniel Levy and see what he was doing. Right? So maybe they have came up with a report and said that we ain't going to give you 200 million pounds for the Aramco Saudi stadium because we don't think Dan Levy will bring the brand up anymore. He's brought us to the level of maximum, right? I can tell you, he has brought us up, but that's the maximum he can go, right? I'm going to pump in another 1 billion pounds to buy up or whatever, right, into a football club that doesn't have ambition. Doesn't show that.
Well, again, but Eugene, that's where it's all come down to. Like what we say is the thing. It depends.
Everybody's speculation
takes us next. Yeah, it depends. Whoever, if we even sell up and not just pass it down to the family, we want owners who come in and who actually want to do something on football.
And guys,
but then on the other side, on the business side, we've got it all there on the plate. And whoever comes in, we want them to be for the football side. But you could come into Spurs and make serious money as well. But we got to get something on that football side.
And this Carrington or Charrington guy, right? He's a non-executive chairman.
I know.
Man, explain to me, what does non-executive mean? He means he's got no power. He's only got advisory. He only can tell and advise. He doesn't have the right to make any decisions. So that means
I disagree with that one. The reason he's Eugene. No, Eugene. No. Eugene, hang on a second.
No, listen, back me up there. You worked in big companies before, right? When you have a non-executive chairman, right?
No, they still have say.
No, you have say, but you don't have the power to authorize things.
Eugene, he's Lewis. Eugene, hang on a sec. He's basically Lewis's right-hand man.
Yes, but in the end of the day, the person signing off things will be Vinay because
he's not making the day-to-day decisions, basically.
I mean, the way non-exec chairmans generally work is, the CEO continues to make the day-to-day decisions in terms of the way that it's operated, but he's actually the CEO's boss and he can replace the CEO at any point. That's the way it works.
But the answer is that,
so when it comes down to it, Eugene, hang on a sec.
At least now the power is not concentrated at one person, Daniel Levy. You get what I'm saying?
Right. But then there's still one person there who's still got the final say in the matter. It's just not Daniel.
But that will always be that way, Dan.
Exactly. That's the way a club works. That's what I was going to say.
That's how most companies work. There's always a man right at the top, right? That's part of a board that will have the final say on things generally. When it comes to votes and stuff like that. But that's not the way. I don't believe that's the way Tottenham set up. Connor, you're probably going to know a lot more about how the board's set up than I do. I don't take that much interest in it. Look, at the end of the day, there's changes happened at the top, and we can only be delighted at that. I think we've all wanted that at least now we can point the finger elsewhere. At least we can say,
exactly,
right, it's not him, it's them, or something like that. At least we're not
try and find something else to blame.
We got no
Basically,
more Levy Out shows to do.
so
no.
if we're going to sell up,
We might have to be
what you're
Charrington
saying.
out soon.
Dan, can I just jump in quick,
Go on,
because
Ben.
I've only just got some semblance of. I'm not
Go on.
going to get my words out, because this has been so huge for me. It's something we've all waited for so long that my brain is all over the place. For me, Daniel Levy's position is the tip of the spear, and I truly believe with him gone now, the club are going to maybe move in different directions, because you're going to have different ideas and so on.
There is one higher than him, Ben, and that is Lewis.
Yeah, I understand that. Of course, 100%. But for all intents and purposes, I'm not even sure if he gets involved in the club that much. I mean, I've never seen any evidence of it to suggest so. I know he owns it. I understand that much, but
the
as
way
far
he'd
as
get
I'm
involved is if he was
of
to say,
course.
sit there and go, there's 300 million to spend, he can do that.
Yeah, of course,
He obviously
exactly.
does.
When he does his investments, absolutely. But as far as I'm concerned, Daniel Levy was the head of the snake, and that has been removed now. And I feel like that is going to be a catalyst for change. That's what I'm hoping for. The only thing I want to disagree with, and this is sort of aimed at Maz, is I think it's a bit of a far cry to suggest that the small protests we've done have had anything to do with him leaving.
I think
And I don't disagree with Maz very often.
It's part of it. I think what he's saying is, if I get this right, Maz, is it's part of it. I mean, if you just look at anything the way the world works as such, a little debate here, a little debate there, and then it starts getting bigger, and then a protest here gets bigger, and then a protest there gets bigger, and then all of a sudden it gets there. It can have a roll-on effect as such.
There's no fire without smoke, basically.
Well, look.
Yeah.
Look, I don't. I'm not gonna bring politics into this, but I'm not gonna discuss whether I'm left or right.
I know where you're gonna go.
Just look at what's happened with the Epping protests, right? How many people do you think turned up there? A couple of 100, 300 at most.
That is basically what I was getting at, Maz, when I said it.
Right. And look at one, how many eyes have seen those protests, not only in the UK but around the world, and the ramifications that has had in the country from such a small protest. Now, if you look from a company perspective, when you have fans, your customers inside the stadium where you're effectively selling entertainment, right, food and drink, and people are singing things that are antithetical to the club, that has an effect. Because why do we think that customer surveys and reviews and things of that nature have such big ramifications for companies? It might only be a dozen people leaving bad reviews, right? But those bad reviews can have a knock-on effect of people's buying, decision-making process.
It always has a dominoes effect as such. It can have effects.
Tenfold. So look, I'm not going to say here, I'm not going to do like a change. Well, a change for Tottenham and say, oh yeah, we were the reason why Donna Cullen left, right? That's not what I'm saying, right?
No, but it's got part of it, basically.
Right?
It's got
but
part
all I'm
of
saying
it,
is that to Nick, what Eugene was saying, we protest is a small cog in a domino effect of things that happened that led us to this point. Otherwise, if everything was good, then Connor's right. He would have been moved into a cushy position, or he would have been, made, I don't know, honorary
president.
Yeah, honorary whatever position they would make up.
Maz, are you suggesting he was removed rather than stepped down?
He was forced
out.
No,
I don't think he's been removed. The conversation would have been, look, right, Daniel, we need a change of direction, right? They probably had... They're not stupid people, they probably had all sorts of conversations about the current projects, what's worked, what hasn't worked, the perception of the club, all of the discussion of all the negative press Tottenham has had as an organization over the last 4 or 5 years. The protests would have been a discussion point. And he may have said, Daniel Levy may have said, you know what, Joe, you know what, mate, I've done the best I can. I'm really proud of what I've done, but I'm not sure I've got another 5 years in me to carry on doing this. Maybe Daniel made that decision.
We just
maybe
don't know, do we?
We just don't know. We just don't know.
And don't forget, right? Recently, there was a post on Twitter. Somebody made some bad jokes, right? And that would have put a seed in there. And he's afraid some crazy MF might go out there and do something crazy like that. So that's why he said he has to step down too. So everything has got a part to play in this. Psychologically, social media, right? And of course, the performance of the team and all that. We know that. But the only thing now is that, like I've been saying, we have to look forward to see, right, what is the next steps coming in, right? If this next January transfer window, right, shows us, then we know we're moving in the right direction. If this January transfer window doesn't, oh dear.
Well, I mean, the next thing it's going to come down to basically is are we going to sell the club or is it going to move on? Basically, for me, I think this is the start. Well, it started a while ago when we might not have seen it, but I think this is the big kick in now to what's going to happen over the next 12 months, 2 years, sort of, where you are going to see us go back to sold, basically. That's what I think anyway. And then I know there's going to be a lot of discussions of who would you want in there? What sort of person would you want in there? What sort of owner? People already leaving comments on there saying, like, I wouldn't want no one from Qatar on there or whatever else. Look, I'm just going to say how it is straight. I'll come to you kind of straight after. I couldn't give a toss who takes over at Spurs. I don't care if the money's blood money. I don't care if it's fucking oil money. I don't care whether they got it from Colombia. As long as it gets spent on the football, on the bloody players, that is all I actually care about. That's my opinion. Connor?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the same people that say they don't want Qatar because of, you know, the issues out in Qatar, probably the same people who shop in Sainsbury's, not knowing that Qatar own 25% or whatever it is of Sainsbury's, right? So this Middle Eastern money is in every element of your life, whether you like it or not, because that's just the reality of life.
It's true.
You know,
or they love McLaren and don't realise that it's owned by the Saudis or something like that.
Exactly. You know, so to me, look, I couldn't care less. I just want, you know, I want what's going to give my football team the highest chance of success, because the best day of my footballing supporting life was watching us winning Bilbao out in Bilbao, right? And I want more of that. So I couldn't care less, right, where the money comes from. I mean, look, on just back to the topic very quickly in terms of, is this the preamble to a sale? There's a couple of things I think that might allude that it is, rather than just ENIC taking more interest in stepping Levy down. I think the first thing we have to remember that Levy has done an outstanding job for ENIC, regardless of whether we think he hasn't done the right job on the football pitch and has wasted money. All football clubs waste money on player transfers. Look at the money that's been wasted at Man United, right? So I don't think they'd care that much about that, if I'm honest, because I think what they've seen is their £90 million investment has become £3.5 billion. And they've had to put in hardly any of their own money. So they would be very, very happy with the job that Levy's done for them. I think there's also the point that you've got to remember how intrinsically linked these two families are. Daniel Levy's son is the co-CEO of Tavistock, right? So, you know, these two families are so intrinsically linked that I just can't see a situation whereby he gets moved on without that non-exec role. That's what's baffling. Why he hasn't been given, you know, this little cushy job on the board.
Maybe later we'll find out, right? Lewis is going to move him into the property side, right, to develop the land and the property, the hotels. Yeah, to tell you the truth, maybe he's been taken off.
That's still all under Tottenham Hotspur group at the moment.
But he'll still, because he will never run away from.
So let me just finish the point. Let me just finish the point.
Then gives his point.
There's a couple of other things, right? Rumours that ENIC were going to put in more money at the start of the summer. Everyone will have seen that on Twitter. It was, you know, there was rumours that we're getting a Saudi sponsorship of the stadium, but also ENIC were going to put in more of their own money. Earlier this week's gone quick. 1st of September on Company's House, on Tottenham's football club subsidiary, we entered into another loan facility, right? Yeah. Most people won't have seen it. With Macquarie Bank, where we have entered into this new facility, which was probably to manage short-term cash. Now, if ENIC were going to put in more money, why would they have needed to enter into that facility? Perhaps they've entered into that facility because they want to manage something short-term until they get this new buyer in who are going to put in more money. So there's all these little things. Peter Charrington's another thing, right? So Peter Charrington got on the board in March. I know him, funnily enough, through my professional career. I've had some dealings with him. He's a top chap, actually.
Okay.
He's a real British gentleman, right? You know, he's very different to Levy. Got a lot of personality. He's a top bloke. It's gonna. Oh, I've got children running in. It's like BBC News. 1 second, I want to call.
They're like, Daniel Levy's
gone. Thank you for my picture. There we go. Look, there we go. The distraction.
Hello.
This is what happens when you're live, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's not a problem, mate.
I think with Charrington, I think, and the club were open about the fact that they were seeking investment as well. They announced it with their own accounts, right, the year before last. So this is what's making me more hopeful that it's going to go the way we all hope, and it's going to be a full sale. But I don't think we're going to see. We're not going to see that for a few months yet, or even longer. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Connor, I think the sale, right, it's not going to be in a few months. It may take up to 6 months to a year for all these big deals to happen. We know that, right? It's not simple. The thing is that who is going to buy whose share? Is it?
It might have already been going on, Eugene. This
might have been going on for
5
some
minute
time.
Job. It might. We just don't know where it's going to go.
And another reality is that Enoch and the Levy and the Lewis family, they want their return of investment. You know, there's no point having an investment for like 50 years and not selling it to get money at some point. They want to cash out at some point. Otherwise, that's the game they're in, right? And for them, that the reason why they probably stayed as long as they have is because they needed to get that stadium done, right? Because that's where
the money is. It is where the money is at this place,
right?
That's why I said that elevates us.
Yeah, and you know they always probably thought, that's on the cards when they've been speaking to like central government and the local government and all that, you know, rejuvenation of Tottenham and all of that stuff. So that's probably why they've stuck around for so long, because they realise that, look, we're going to 4x the potential money that we're going to make from this, or you know, whatever the multiplier is from 90 to 4 billion or whatever.
No, the sale
and Connor's right. It may not even be what we think it is. You know,
it's true.
It may be something completely different. But all we can do as fans is try and join the dots and say, right, what is the probable outcome of everything? But
it's what you do with anything, isn't it, Maz? You try and put it together to work it out, don't you?
The hill that I will die on, right, is that I'm pretty sure that all of the protesting and the online media, whether it's new media like YouTube or old media like TalkSport and Sky and everything, I'm sure that has an effect, and that may have caused them to say, you know what, let's think about cashing out at some point. We've done what we wanted to achieve. We've got the stadium. You know, we know we're worth 3-4 billion now, whatever they think they're worth. Right, let's start, as Connor said, let's start looking for investors to buy us out. Let's cash in. We need to see our return on investment. We've been doing this for 25 years. You know, so it's just so good. It's just it's like waking up and realizing that you've got a new missus and she's much better looking type thing.
or maybe on the other side, you just actually feel. I think the thing I feel with this is, like I say, I will always try and look on things on both sides. And you know, I am Levy Out, even though over the past couple of months, if anything, I've defended him more because I feel people only ever look at one side. And the base he has built for this place, you can't take it away from him. Well done. He got that bit right. But the football side, he just never got it right. It's where we can go from here now. I think you can actually just sit here for a minute and you've almost got, what's the word I should use here? You've almost got that solid word of hope again. You feel like you feel like, no, not relief. You feel like you've got a chance again. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see what I'm Connor, try and say what I'm saying? I think you get the point I'm trying to get at you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like we were living in this, you know, night. I think Maz said it earlier, like, we were fine, right? But that's all we ever were, was fine. It's like coasting along for 25 years with and you know, who knows what the next ownership might look like. I think there's You know, I had this debate with Sean the other week on his stream, where I said that if we got the right type of owners, i.e., those that have this unfettering ambition to win, and that's all they're interested in, that we'd win the league within 5 years. And
I agree.
still have that view.
We have that chance
that view because we don't have the financial restrictions don't apply to us like they do to a Newcastle or Aston Villa. So we're in that, ideal situation where we can literally explode if we have the right owners. And just having that, our ambition has never been to win under this ownership. It's been to finish Champions League at best, and it's been to, grow the size of the club and do it sustainably. When you have that mindset change of you go, all we're interested in is winning. PSG had this, right? We want to win everything. We want to win the biggest trophies. We don't care, and that's all we want to achieve. And then you suddenly realise, obviously, it's not going to happen straight away, but over time, players buy into that. If players know that you're going to have 250, 300 million pound windows back to back, suddenly they're interested.
It doesn't take long to get that rolling when you show you've got it. And I've said this. I think I've said this on the show with you before when I've sat there and said, we are a sleeping giant in our own way. We are one 100%. Of what? Maybe 4 or 5 clubs on this entire planet that can actually sustain itself with say finishing 10th in the league for 5 years straight, winning nothing and selling no one. There aren't many clubs that can do that. Chelsea can't even do that. That is why they always had to win, or they've always been so good at selling their youth. Other teams can't do it like we do. We bring in the money without even finishing high in the league or also having to sell players. We are one of very few clubs on this planet that can actually sustain ourselves as such. The other thing is of it, look where we are. We are in London. What basically runs the UK and England? London. That is where the money is. Take London out and England falls to pieces. The further up north you go, the less money there is as such. That is why Fulham can charge ticket prices higher than Man U, Man City and bloody Newcastle and everyone else and Liverpool and that. It's all there for the taking now. We just need that owner, someone to come in who is willing to spend that money. You go and see someone come in of the same attitude of like Man City's lot, of Paris Saint-Germain's lot. And if I remember right, from last thing I checked up, it was about a good 6-7 months ago I see it. We're still in the top rated clubs in the world that could go and spend a hell of a lot of money and we wouldn't even get looked at for it like other clubs would as such. We have that capability.
Huge.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, huge amounts. I mean, from a PSR perspective in the Premier League, we could spend, because of the way it then translates through to, depends on the exact mix, but 400 million.
Before we even get looked at,
like between 200 and 400 million, quite easily, something.
Before we even get looked at, put in the cash to actually do that, because if you don't, because our own club doesn't have that point. Because also remember, the club doesn't have the money because we are in the red financially in the accounts, right? But then if your owners are willing to pump in that money to go and buy the players, then it's a different thing. And the thing is, at the moment,
is what we're saying.
Yeah, and the thing at the moment now, right, as I see this, right, like you were talking about the takeover, there's so many scenarios on the takeover, right? Or for all you know, right, maybe Lewis needed some cash and he needs to do something about it, right? And that's part of that scenario. Somebody needs to buy a certain percentage of his shares and all that, or do you not know? Or maybe, like you said, Daniel Levy's gotten tired of all the hate thrown at him and all that, and with the recent social media exposure that he's getting, right? It's looking that maybe he's stepping back and he's looking to cash out himself, because like we've said before, right? He's only rich on paper. He's not rich in the cash, right? But you're not talking about.
He's rich on shares, basically. Like Spurs, we were a massive club on shares, but not necessarily in cash, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fellas, I've got a question to throw out there to you. So look, obviously we know Daniel Levy is mostly responsible for putting us in a position that I feel we are a step away from being a truly, truly big club. We have all the foundations, all the footwork has been laid out. You know, it's been done. We are ready to take the next step. Here's my question. Given the fact that we are, it's been estimated roughly 4 billion to buy Tottenham Hotspurs. So that is going to take obviously a large chunk of the market away. Do you guys feel that we're an easy club to sell?
Yeah, I think we are.
For the money,
they'd sell Tottenham tomorrow. They'd sell Tottenham tomorrow if they wanted.
With the income with the income that comes with it, yeah. I mean, look how easy it was to sell Chelsea, basically. And Chelsea isn't a club you buy for. Chelsea is not a club that you buy for income, yeah.
Ben,
Chelsea was a hang on a sec, Eugene. Chelsea was not the club that they bought because they wanted to necessarily make a shitload of money off of it as such. Spurs is a club you can buy, make a mint load of money off it, make it even bigger if you're willing to make it big on the football side, and then make a hell of a lot of money out of it. That is what I've been saying for ages. Our foundation is just there for the taking. Whoever comes in on us, if someone bought us, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, they're going to have some serious money to put down. So they're going to be some very, very big people, or maybe two big people come in and do it. And if they want to make the excess money back on it, they're going to have to make us bigger on the football side as well.
No, that's why. Okay, I'm going to say this, right? Ben, you were asking, right? Is it very difficult for us to be sold? Yes, because it's a £4 billion deal, right?
I disagree.
Nobody is going to come in with $4 billion. Wait, right? Remember when they were looking for investments 1.5 years, 2 years ago, right? To come into this club, I was saying this, right? Who the hell is going to put in £500 million as investing with Spurs, right? And not allowed to take out dividends? No billionaire is going to do that. You get what I'm saying? If you come in with the money, you will want to have your profits, right? Why should I give you £500 million, right? Well, I can put it in the bank, even earn 2% per annum, right? It's still money in the pocket. So nobody's going to come in the money. So now I think this is a mechanism that has triggered something that, yes, somebody's going to come in to buy, whether it's 4 billion, or maybe it's going to be in tranche. You're not going to buy 4 billion overnight. Maybe he'll come in 500 million, slowly take over. And then when you sit down in accounts, right, you have that turn the actual accounts, right, submitted into not red, back into the blue or the black, right?
But Eugene, there is people out there with the power to quite easily come out and do the bloody job as well, mate. There is plenty that come out there to do it.
No, there is.
Chelsea got sold with offers. Okay, we're double the price of what Chelsea would. What was Chelsea in the end? About 2 billion, wasn't it?
2.5 billion. Yeah,
right.
but they
now you look at Chelsea.
But Roman Abramovich wrote off $1 billion in a debt or something like that.
But what I'm saying is there are people out there that have got the capability to come in and do it. The difference is with Spurs, the way I see this, I mean, I'll ask Connor and Maz more on it. They're more the business type on this. Is the difference is we're coming and buying a large amount. Like, it is a massive club to buy in that aspect. But the income in the long run off of it, if they get the football side of it, will definitely bring money back for sure. It is
the baseline revenue is there, basically.
Yes.
Whereas at Chelsea, it's a very different thing.
And do that projection.
Well, they're not going to come in and do it anyway for a two-minute job, are they, Eugene? No, they're going to come in for a 2-minute job.
If I'm a billionaire, right? Come on. If I'm a billionaire and I'm going to put £4 billion into Spurs, right, to buy over the whole club, right, including the whatever shareholders there are, right, like Lubo and all that, right? I have to sit down and come up with my accountants, press the numbers, right? What Spurs can do for me? Can I get my money back in 10 years, right, as my investment? And when can I start generating profits where I can draw out? We have seen so many football teams, right? Like especially I give them like the Manchester United team. What the Glazers did is that they bought them with a loan and used that stadium, the fans' money to pay back that loan, right? And then they started taking money out of the club, right? Whilst they were doing that, they were buying players like crazy and taking more loans to buy the players. You can say,
so you're saying we could get someone in even worse, basically?
We could. Right, we could.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but
it's unlikely because we all know, right? The type of owners that we want is to be ambitious on the football side. Like you said, I don't care where the money frigging comes from, right? I want us to show ambition on the football side, right? Like now, to tell the truth, right? We've got this glimmer of hope, right? Maybe like what Connor said, in 5 years we will be there to win the Premier League, right? With this scenario happening now, and we'll be there to win the Champions League if we can build properly.
Look, there's more billionaires now than there's ever been in the past, right? There's more hedge funds and consortiums and investment vehicles in the world now that do all sorts of purchases in various different disciplines. Tottenham Hotspur is a very easy club to sell over and above most other clubs on the planet because we're in London, which is a big thing worldwide, right? We have got worldwide recognition as a brand, as a name and history behind it. And there's far more ambitious individuals and consortiums that will look at Spurs and think, you know what, yeah, they've done great, yeah, you know, it's fantastic, but we can make this much better. We can generate much better revenues and stuff with whatever ideas that they have. I'm not going to speculate on what they could be, but Eugene, look, I can't even get my words out. We don't know. We won't know what's going to happen until it happens, right?
Yeah,
right. We've seen stranger things happen. Who could have predicted 10, 15 years ago that the Saudis would come and buy bloody Manchester City, right, and turn them into what they've become now, right?
Exactly.
So it's
very true.
You know, we just don't know. Even Newcastle, like, and let's be honest, like in terms of, I know Manchester City were successful a long time ago, but we've got, let's face it, we've got a bigger name than they have historically.
We were successful a long time ago too.
Yeah. So
hey fellas, I've just had a thought.
It's our turn now. We're gonna enjoy that.
I've just had a really go on, do your thing, mate.
And I'll come straight to you. Tinman 007, thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated for the super chat. Guys, there is no way Levy's stepping down unless he knows we are selling up. No way. Something big is happening. I quite agree with that. I think this is the obvious start of the next step. Where we go from here, this is what we're all guessing at, basically. And only time will tell. But thanks a lot, mate, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And Ben, go for it, mate.
I think he just beat me to it. I just dawned on me. I sat there and I thought, Daniel, I mean, nice one, top man, but yeah, you beat me to it, damn. So I was just sitting there thinking, Daniel Levy's always preached he'd only ever sell the club if, you know, the right buyers came along. I wonder, has he left because Enoch have already sold the club or have verbally agreed to sell the club and he might not be happy about it? Is that a possibility that he's left because the club is already being sold to people he's not happy about it being sold to? I don't know. But I mean, again, it's just a theory. But it leans into the fact that why is he leaving now?
Benji, it could be that they've agreed that they're gonna sell, right, to whoever comes in, right? And Joe Lewis said to him, "Look, I'm not being funny, but every time we get a prospective buyer coming, you're not helping us out here. You know, in layman's terms, you're not helping us out here. You're too fucking." You know, you're hurting us. So let's bring in my old buddy Cherry to come in, right? And Vinay and help that make that happen, right? And maybe that's the conversation.
Do you know what? I agree. I think that maybe could be the case. I just it begs the question, doesn't it? Because it's a strange time for him to leave.
Maybe the surprise thing, guys. Maybe the surprise thing is nothing has changed. Levy's just stepped down.
But hold on, Eugene. Can we just be super positive for a minute, boys? This could be we could be at the precipice, boys. This could be the moment it all changes for Tottenham Hotspurs. This could be the moment we finally get the club we've always dreamed of. Yes. I mean, I know that's like super up there.
The start of it, basically.
Maybe. I mean, it's exciting.
Stepping stone to a positive direction.
Yes,
that's all.
It's like what I was trying to say earlier. Even just hearing that Levy has gone, I mean, I still think I do find it weird that he's gone now, and why not at the start of the bloody window and everything and that. I must admit, I do find that one a bit strange, but it's always buts and maybes. We don't know. But all of a sudden, just the fact that I see Levy has gone, I feel like we've got a chance again. You can say hope, you can say I almost feel like we got a chance. Whatever happens next, who knows? Only time will tell, ifs, buts, and maybes. But the whole time Levy's been in control of the club, I've never had a thought that we'd end up falling apart as such, as a football club as such, as a business. But I've never really looked on it like we really had a chance of becoming anything big, if you get what I mean. Big properly on the football side, not just big because we're massive on the share side. Or what
becoming elite.
I actually feel like we've got a chance again. And only time will tell with this one, won't it? I mean, it's definitely a bit of random news out of nowhere. I mean, do you think this is now... I mean, how do you think
guys, what do you think?
Maybe going to deal with this. Do you think this is more now on Thomas Frank that people are going to be looking at him now more, or is this going to give him more time? Is it going to have anything to do with the manager's effects or anything?
Well, maybe Thomas Frank was part of it, right? I don't know. Maybe Levy had one test. Maybe the Eze thing was the problem. Maybe he couldn't get the Eze deal over, and the fan base went crazy, and somebody took that power away from him and said that, okay, now we're going to do the Xavi deal. The Xavi deal went through. Now we're going to do the Moani deal. The Moani deal went through. We got quality players in. If Levy was still stuck doing the deals, right?
I'm just not sure ENIC would care enough.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure ENIC would care enough about individual players to move Levy.
But now it's about the perception. You understand? All this perception that the fans have. We've won the Europa Cup trophy, right? And our fan base was still going crazy because we weren't able to sign the players. Remember when we were at the precipice of nearly winning the league and we never moved on to the next level? There was one time. Remember when we were in the Champions League final and we lost and we didn't move on to the next level, right? And maybe now, after winning the Europa League Cup, right, we're supposed to move on to the next level, but because now, right, with social media, the fans are all awake and aware, right? And this, what I call perception put out there to the public, guys, it's not only, like you said, I'm an international fan, bro, right? It's 3 a.m. in Malaysia here now for me, right? And I'm doing shows with you guys in UK. You're talking about, and I've got so many international.
Yeah, but that's nothing new, Eugene.
That's why we love you, Eugene, mate. Top man.
No, guys, hold up. You know, I've got so many, because I'm in part of the Malaysian Spurs, right? There's so many people who don't like him. We're international fans. We see where the problem is, but the only problem is that a lot of international fans, because we are so far away, right? We're not that involved. I think I'm the only Spurs fan that's crazy enough to do this all the time, right? To set up an only Malaysian Spurs channel and actually do things like that. But what I'm saying now is that perception in the social media has put pressure on him, right? Perception of international fans, what Mas was saying earlier, has put a negative side on him, right? Maybe the sponsors and all that are also getting jittery, right? And whilst we are not happy, right? And like I said, little things of happiness all add up together. And maybe now he's decided he can't take that pressure anymore. And to tell the truth, right? He has stepped aside, right? We do not know what is the actual things going to happen in the back at the moment. Charrington is a non-executive chairman. Will he be, big up Peter, yeah, it's 502 in Melbourne, right? Will he be actually in the back pulling the strings again? We do not know, right? Because he still owns, you know, like you said, 25%, right, of Spurs. See, but
Yeah.
of course, what Benji saying is very correct.
It'd be quite unusual, though.
We'll be happy. We have to be happy, right? This is a stepping stone.
Eugene, it'll be quite unusual though for him to step down into no position, right? And still be pulling the strings in the background. Why would you do that? You wouldn't. You would.
It'd still sit on the board, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But he
I
doesn't
thought
want the
did he even
limelight.
go on the
Doesn't
board?
want the-
I mean,
he
in
doesn't
that,
want the limelight
Eugene,
and
hang
all
on a
that.
sec, mate. Eugene, calm down, mate. Chill out. I know you're happy, yeah. It bloody shows, but calm down, mate. I agree with what Maz just said there in the aspect of, like, I mean, I said it earlier on that and did our sort of thing. Like, has he still got something to do with it? Because he is still owner of ENIC and part of Spurs, whatever, and that. But from what you said, Connor, and what others have said, what I've read and also read on here, he's like totally, completely stepped out of it, basically. And if he was still wanting to have a big part of it or so, or saying it and that, you'd at least think he'd be on that table as such, wouldn't you? But it's saying he's completely out of the system now.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, we're all looking forward to Alistair Gold doing his little.
yeah. Dan, I think you earlier you made a point which I think is a really relevant one if we're talking about whoever buys the club next. You made the point about how everything is in place, right, in terms of infrastructure. So all they've got
foundation.
To do, the foundation, exactly. So all they've got to do, comparably to when people buy other clubs, even United, right? United are going to have to go and spend over 2 billion, right, on their stadium when
That's
they
what I've said before,
stadium.
isn't it? Like others have got stadiums to build and that, haven't they?
Whoever comes into ours, they've got to spend what? Let's call it £500 million on players, just for argument's sake. But that's it, right? And we know with players as well that that gets spread over many years as well. So even in terms of the cash outlay, it's not 500 million straight away. It's, over. And look, someone asked the question in the chat. They asked the question around what's the future growth of Tottenham for new owners? Why would they want to spend 3.5 billion, call it 3.5 billion on us? If you think about it, look, there's nothing that you can build the best stadiums in the world. You can get all of the events into the stadium, you can do all of that stuff, but nothing grows revenue like success. Because you look at Man City and Liverpool, their revenues are above ours, right? And we've got much better infrastructure than both of those clubs. But the reason their revenues are above ours is because they've been consistently successful. And then they get Champions League every year, which is 100 million every year. Plus, on top of that, they also get bigger sponsorship deals. So that's where the trajectory is for new owners, because they go, look.
I'm not challenging you, but is that correct, though?
Yeah.
What's that?
I thought this year wasn't we the number 1 or number 2 for revenue?
No. We're ninth in world football, and we're fifth. We're fifth out of the Premier League teams in terms of revenue. So Arsenal,
the one we're top
Liverpool,
at,
Man City, and Man United were higher than us. We were
the one we're top at. If I'm right, Connor,
600 over millions. When you talk about Manchester United, right, and Real Madrid, their revenues are in the billions. You get what I'm saying? So that's the
no, they're not. Man United's revenue is less than Man City's.
Man U,
they are in billions, right? They're in the billions range. They're about 300 or 400 million above us. You're talking about sales, sales overseas and all that.
Man U are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. The place
Man
where
we get Liverpool, Man U,
the place where we get a lot more than a lot of teams is actually out of the football. Like when it comes to that stadium, the amount of revenue that brings into us on that side is a lot more than what any other clubs out there get. But then when the football side comes into it and everything else and that, then there's also others that bring in significantly more when you add it all up together. But one thing Spurs do have is the excess revenue we have from the links we have to, whether it's the NFL, the amount of events we have, the amount of this we have, that Formula One thing and everything else. We have a lot of excess income from out of it. But like you said, Connor, whoever comes into us, if someone comes into us and wants to take themselves up a level with the money, that's all they got to do is focus on that football side, bring in some success on the football side. The club gets bigger again, and then the money will just be flowing in there.
We know. I mean, the opportunities, from my point of view, is self-evident, right? We haven't managed to get a sponsor for the stadium. That could be because of a lack of success on the football pitch. If we were successful, maybe Google, as a silly example, or Elon Musk will look at us and think, you know what,
Amazon.
They're doing well. Let's call it the SpaceX Stadium or whatever they're going to call it. And I'll fire a rocket from the I don't know, the Skywalk or whatever he's going to. You know what I mean? They may look at our worldwide fan base. I don't know. Let's say we've got 30 million fans worldwide. They might come in and say, you know what, we can grow that by 10, 15%. Right, and that will translate to X amount of revenue, and that might bridge the gap between us and Man United and Real Madrid or whatever in terms of revenue. You know, there's so many aspects to growing revenue in a club like Tottenham Hotspur. That's where Daniel Levy deserves credit. He's managed to build a multi-purpose stadium and infrastructure, right? That gives us avenues to grow the business and attract new customer bases for various different things. And where I absolutely agree with Connor is success breeds success, and that will translate to more revenue, right? And bigger sponsors, and the potential is massive. I mean, let's look at it this way. We've got, apart from, let's say, Xavi Simons now, right? We've got no real superstar players in Spurs. New owners might think, you know what, let's make 3 or 4 superstar players, and our shirt sales will go through the roof, and we'll win cups, and we'll qualify for the Champions League every year. That may translate to another 100 million turnover, and that may make us turn a profit better. Let's look at the academy. Our academy doesn't make anywhere near the amount of money it should in terms of return on investment.
It doesn't make any money, does it?
Yeah.
Does it actually
do we think when you're coming into a club and spending the sort of money that we're talking about here, which is roughly around 4 billion, are we all expecting money to be spent straight away when they come in, or do you think it's going to be an overtime?
Benji, it's unlikely to be one individual that does it. It will be a consortium of people with a long-term view of the next 5, 10, 15 years, right? And if that is the case, then yeah, they will come in and spend the money. They don't think short term like that. What I mean is they're thinking medium, long term. They're not thinking of short term. You know, they'll make the investment and they'll do what needs to be done.
No, Bess, you know what they do? They'll take a loan and put in the money.
well, Connor, you're probably going to be able to explain this much better than me because I don't know as much about it. But if you look at Chelsea and the Bowley and the groups of their consortium, they came in that not only did they buy the club, they've spent a 1.5 billion.
Was that not a special case,
3 or 4
though,
years? Sorry?
Yeah.
Was that not a special case, though, Maz? Was there not some sort of clause from Roman Abramovich that allowed that? Am I wrong in saying that?
The government seized Chelsea, effectively.
They made
they wrote off, and they wrote off the debt, basically. But
they forced Roman Abramovich. Roman Abramovich said, "Oh, but I'm owed 1.5 billion," and they probably said to him, "Well, we'll stick you in a jail, or you can walk away from this." Basically,
guys, I got to make a move, right? It's going to be about 3 a.m. in Malaysia. I'll catch up with you guys later. Only thing I'm going to say, right? Savor this moment. It's a stepping stone to a brighter future for Spurs, hopefully. Take care, guys.
Take care, mate. See ya. I'm amazed no one's screamed as of yet. I'm a full-grown man. I genuinely wanted to scream when I heard this news. I'm on here like a little girl and just...
Like,
really? It is... A shock is a shock, isn't it? Sorry, mate. Keep going what you're saying. Sorry,
I was gonna. Benji's thrown me off, Benji.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
What I was gonna say. Anyway, you carry on. I've lost it. Totally gone now. It's gone.
Well, I suppose the way to just look at it is something I've said for a long time. Whoever comes in for us, they've surely got to be significantly interested on the football side. Because that is where the money is now made to be brought into this place, the way I see it personally. And when you look at other clubs as well, you look at Man U, that is a lot of money they got to spend soon on a stadium. Liverpool have got to big up their stadium as well. No, not to the degree that Man U have. Newcastle, they've got to start getting their stadium together. There's other places. I mean, Chelsea, one day or another, they're going to have to totally either move their place because they can't really build much of their stadium there for where it actually is, isn't it? There's a lot of teams out there now that are at a point where they need to go to that next level with their stadium and that. Things like that, I personally think, will sort of hold a team back to an extent to what it can spend as such. We're at that point, again, where whoever takes us over, they're going to have to be bloody rich people anyway to do it. So I doubt they're going to be able to do it, or the group that does it is going to be able to do it, and they've only got a tenner left in their back pocket. Because then that would make no sense on the business side to me. Whoever's going to come in and do this, or whatever group does, if it even happens, is going to have a lot of money to be spent. And I personally think is going to be willing to go on that football side, because that's where all the money is to be made now, basically, like you said, Connor, to bring the success up. Because everything else, Levy, he's built it to a T, and there's no debate in that one. I mean, we're even still waiting for, if someone comes in or whatever else, we're talking about still getting hotels behind us, for God's sake, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting times this next 6 to 12 months, isn't it? I think I think someone made the point that this window as well is obviously the one if it is going to be a sell. This window is the one I think you made a point about Frank, right? In terms of would people have bigger expectations or whatever? I'm not sure, but the one parallel I would say with Frank is when the Saudis first came into Newcastle. I think it was very strategic why they placed Eddie Howe as their manager to start with, because I think he's a very, he doesn't really say anything out of line, does he? He's very sort of a safe pair of hands.
Stable.
They're stable. They're protecting that sort of sports washing image, of we'll put an English manager in who speaks really well. They didn't go for Jose Mourinho, say, or someone like that. And that makes me wonder with Frank. This point now you're sort of trying to join up the dots and perhaps doing it wrong, but you start to think like Frank being put, he's a safe pair of that. He's not English, but he's speaks really well, very humble, never comes out and criticizes, does he? He's sort of, and then you got Vinay coming in as the CEO, similar. You start to join up these dots, and perhaps it's 2 and 2 equals